Business Essentials Podcast. Unlock your career.
Learn to speak business English like a pro.
That dreaded moment when the interviewer asks, "What are your weaknesses?" And your mind goes blank? I'm Marcus, and today we're turning this classic trap into your secret weapon, with Sarah showing how to answer authentically without self-sabotage, packed with B2 to C1 phrases that impress.
Hey Marcus, great to unpack this.
Sarah, your interview expertise transforms panic into confidence. For B2 to C1 business English learners, these are real-world phrases that land jobs. So, what makes this question trip up even the most qualified candidates?
Most don't realize 67% of job interviews include some version of the weakness question, yet 90% of candidates give zero insight answers like, "I'm a perfectionist," instantly triggering interviewer skepticism.
Practically everyone crashes on this, handing hiring managers fake responses instead of genuine growth stories.
And 47% of candidates get instantly disqualified when they use those generic responses. So nearly half the people giving a cliché answer are removing themselves from consideration.
So the answer actually hurts you?
Right. And 83% of companies now use AI-powered screening systems that analyze your tone, language patterns, and authenticity. These systems are trained to detect rehearsed responses.
So the bar has gotten higher.
Much higher. But here's the opportunity. Because so few people answer this well, when you do answer it authentically, you stand out dramatically. This question tests three things: your self-awareness, your honesty, and your growth mindset.
Let's drill down into that. For our listeners, drill down is a common business phrase meaning to examine something in detail, right?
When you drill down into something, you're going deep into the specifics. You'd use this in strategy meetings or when analyzing data.
So when we drill down into why this question matters, what's happening psychologically?
Research from Indiana University found that self-aware candidates demonstrated 23% higher job performance ratings after 12 months compared to candidates who avoided discussing weaknesses.
23%? That's huge.
When you engage in genuine self-reflection, you activate brain regions responsible for self-awareness. Candidates who can do this demonstrate higher emotional regulation, which predicts how you'll handle stress.
So you're showing them you can manage yourself.
Right. Harvard Business School research showed when candidates share genuine limitations alongside concrete improvement plans, hiring managers' trust increases by 34%.
So being vulnerable actually builds trust?
Absolutely. When you're vulnerable in a strategic way, you trigger oxytocin production in the interviewer's brain. Overly polished responses actually trigger skepticism.
Let's talk about what most people get wrong. Give me an example of a bad answer.
Here's the classic trap. You say, "I'm a perfectionist. I sometimes spend too much time on details when I should move forward faster."
I've definitely heard that one before.
The interviewer immediately thinks, "This person hasn't prepared. They're giving me a canned answer." 47% of hiring managers report this response makes them immediately skeptical.
So that backfires completely.
Completely. Candidates think they're being clever, disguising a strength as a weakness. But interviewers hear this dozens of times. It signals lack of preparation.
So what should they do instead?
Here's a better way. Early in my career, I got caught in perfectionism that slowed project delivery. On a marketing campaign, I revised the copy 7 times when the third revision was already effective. My team was waiting while I obsessed over minor improvements. I realized my perfectionism was becoming a liability to the team's velocity.
That's so different. That's specific.
You've got a specific project, a specific behavior, a specific impact, and recognition of the problem. That's real self-awareness.
And velocity, that's about speed of work?
Yes, in business, especially in project management, velocity refers to how quickly a team can complete work. When your perfectionism slows team velocity, you're creating a bottleneck.
So that answer works because it's behavioral, specific, and shows real impact.
Right. The STAR method, situation, task, action, result, shows 34% higher advancement rate to the next interview round.
Structure matters.
Enormously. Your brain processes structured narratives 2.5 times more efficiently. This applies to both human interviewers and AI screening systems.
What's another way people mess this up?
One of the biggest mistakes is choosing a core job requirement as your weakness. This is categorically disqualifying.
Give me an example.
You're applying for a project manager role and you say, "My weakness is that I struggle with organizational systems and planning."
Oh no.
Organization and planning are literally core competencies for project management. Analysis showed 0% advancement rate for candidates citing core job requirement weaknesses.
0%? Instant elimination.
Instant elimination. If you can't do the core job, you're not getting hired.
So what's a better approach?
Choose something peripheral, real and relevant, but not central to core functions. You might say, "I've historically avoided difficult conversations with team members because I wanted to maintain harmony." That cost the team real feedback they needed to improve.
So conflict avoidance. That's not ideal, but it's not a core project management skill.
Right. Then you continue. "I read crucial conversations and worked with a mentor to reframe feedback as a gift. Now I'm known for delivering direct feedback that helps people develop."
So you're showing growth on something real, but it's not disqualifying.
And you've included a specific learning mechanism. The book, working with a mentor, you've shown measurable result. That's a complete growth narrative.
And reframe. Is that a common business term?
Yes, reframing is huge in business. To reframe something means to present it from a different perspective, like reframing feedback as a gift instead of criticism.
So you're literally changing the frame around the picture.
Perfect analogy. When you reframe a weakness as an overclocked strength, like a strength that's overapplied in the wrong context, it neurologically shifts how the interviewer perceives you.
Overclocked strength? Explain that.
Imagine someone says, "I'm impatient." But you can reframe it, "I have a strong bias for action. Sometimes I push for decisions before all stakeholders are aligned," which can create friction.
So you're saying the same thing, but positioning it differently.
You're showing that your weakness is actually a strength, action orientation. That becomes a liability when overused. Brain imaging studies show this kind of reframing activates the brain region responsible for strategic thinking.
That's brilliant. The weakness is still real, but you're giving it context.
Right. And the reframing has to be genuine. You can't just slap a positive label on something negative. It has to be a real competency that becomes a problem when overused.
Walk me through what a complete weakness answer should sound like. What's the full structure?
There's a 4-phase framework. Phase 1, strategic selection, choosing the right weakness. Phase 2, situational anchoring, telling a specific story. Phase 3, showing your action plan and learning. Phase 4, demonstrating your current capability.
Break those down for me.
Let's use delegation as an example. Phase 2, situational anchoring. In 2021, I was managing 15 accounts while mentoring 2 junior account managers. I was the primary relationship holder for every account. All strategy reviews, client calls, major decisions went through me.
Setting the scene with specifics.
Then the impact. When one of my top accounts, a $400,000 contract, faced a crisis, I had to drop everything. The junior manager felt unsupported. The client started questioning our team's capabilities.
Concrete negative consequence.
Then recognition. I realized my belief that only I can do this well was creating client risk and blocking my team's development.
Self-awareness.
Now, phase 3, action and learning. This is where 96% of candidates fail.
Why?
They say vague things like, "I'm working on it." But research shows 96% improvement rate with specific behavioral mechanisms compared to 38% with vague intentions.
So you need to be concrete.
You'd say, "I did 3 specific things. First, I read The Goal by Eli Goldratt. Second, I asked my VP if I could step back from 2 smaller accounts and assign them to my junior managers with her oversight. Most importantly, I got an executive coach for 6 months focused on building trust in my team."
Specific books, actions, accountability structures.
And acknowledge the difficulty. That was the hardest part, training myself to step back and let others own client relationships.
Being honest about the emotional challenge.
Then, phase 4, demonstrate current capability. 6 months later, I completely stepped back from being the primary contact. My junior managers now own the initial strategy conversations and present directly to clients.
Showing what changed structurally.
And quantify. Client satisfaction scores went up 12 points. We've had 0 turnover in 2 years in a department where we used to see 30% annual turnover. I developed 2 managers into senior account managers. 1 was promoted.
Metrics, satisfaction scores, turnover rates, promotions.
Right. Then close. I went from managing 15 accounts solo to overseeing 22 accounts through a team of 4. We increased revenue capacity by 40%. What used to be my biggest limitation became my competitive advantage as a leader.
Repositioning the weakness as now being a strength.
Same core behavior, completely different framing.
What about people who make it about personality traits rather than skills?
Candidates will say, I'm shy, I'm introverted, I'm anxious. Basically, core personality traits. That triggers concern because traits feel fixed, while behaviors feel changeable.
So the interviewer thinks, this person fundamentally can't do the job.
73% of hiring managers express concern about trait-based answers. But if you reframe the trait as a behavior, everything changes.
Example?
Instead of, I'm introverted, you'd say, in group settings, I used to stay quiet because I was processing information before contributing. This meant my perspectives weren't heard, and the group missed useful input.
Same reality, framed as a behavior pattern.
Then, I've intentionally shifted to thinking out loud in brainstorms and asking for 30-second reflection time in meetings. My contributions are now visible, which has helped my career visibility.
Specific behavior changes, thinking out loud, asking for reflection time.
And measurable impact. Candidates who reframe trait concerns as behavioral challenges show 2.8 times higher advancement rates.
Massive difference.
This connects to behavioral consistency theory. Past behavior is the strongest predictor of future behavior. So when you show specific examples of how you've changed behavior, interviewers trust you can continue changing.
Not just, I'll do better, it's, here's proof I already did better.
Right.
Before we wrap up, let's recap the key terms.
The main ones were drill down, velocity, reframe, stakeholder, and bias for action. Drill down means to examine in detail. Velocity is how quickly a team completes work. Reframe means to present from a different perspective. Stakeholder is anyone with interest in a decision. Bias for action means a preference for doing rather than waiting.
Great. Our listeners can use these terms when preparing for interviews.
They sound natural in business English, but might not come naturally at B2 or C1 level.
Final thoughts. The baseline success rate for job interviews is only 20%. But candidates who master the weakness question can push that to 40 or 50%.
Most people spend weeks preparing technical skills, but completely neglect this one question. And it's actually one of the most predictive moments in the interview.
So what's the one thing you want people to take from this episode?
The weakness question isn't a trap. It's an opportunity to demonstrate self-awareness, vulnerability, and growth. When you answer authentically with a specific story, concrete actions, and measurable evidence of improvement, you're proving you're the kind of person who takes ownership of development. That's what companies want in leaders.
Love that. Have you struggled with the weakness question in interviews? What approach worked for you? Let us know in the comments. And if you try this framework, come back and tell us what changed.
Even if you're not interviewing now, this framework applies to performance reviews, self-assessments, anytime you need to talk about your development.
Phenomenal deep dive into interview mastery today. Sarah, your wisdom lit up the room.
All thanks to our dynamic duo, Marcus. Listeners, if this episode handed you even one powerhouse response to practice, mission success. Whisper that closing line to yourself in the mirror tonight. It'll lock in like steel.
Your focus on leveling up your career game? Pure inspiration. Thanks for sharing the space with us.
Spread the magic. Text this gem to your interview wingman, then deploy a fresh tactic in your prep sesh. Teamwork turns maybe into hired.
Next episode, the answer that makes them say yes instead of maybe. Flipping interview responses into job offers on the spot.
We'll unpack the psych triggers that lock in hiring managers, desperation-free closing moves that spark urgency, and word wizardry, shifting you from contender to must-have now.
Job hunt juggernaut. Your offer letter's blueprint. Skip this? You're leaving yeses on the table.
Crush those Q&As, claim your spotlight, and strut into success.
Later, future CEOs, charge up for the win.
Hyped to catapult your career with you next time.
Thanks for listening, everyone. I'm Marcus.
And I'm Sarah.
We'll catch you next time. Business Essentials Podcast. Unlock your career.
Learn to speak business English like a pro.